Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 50 Shades of Tay. I'm Taylor Gonzalez, and my guest today is the writer and director of the upcoming horror film, The Dead Place, starring David Howard Thornton. I'm so excited to be joined by Michael Pickle. Michael, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, good, thanks. Thank you so much for being here. It's going to be very fun getting to talk all things The Dead Place with you.
Cool. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, of course. The title itself is so cool and stands out. Where did you come up with the title of The Dead Place?
Uh, the title just popped into my head. When I first thought of it, I couldn't believe that no one else had thought of it yet. So I did my research and I noticed that no other movies had come out called that. But I had this idea of this place that I wanted to write about, the Dead Place, which is the asylum, which it ends up being much more of a part of the story in the trilogy. So part one is the journey to get to the dead place where everything goes down.
Oh, that is so cool. Yeah, that's crazy that no other movie has been called The Dead Place. I've talked to so many other people who have had a hard time coming up with a film for their or a title for their film that hasn't been used already. So it's just like that's a crazy get that wasn't already taken.
Yeah, and then since then there's a I did some more research and there was a book that came out in England, like some
Oh,
mystery book called The Dead Place, but luckily I was able to get it copyrighted because it's a movie and original story.
oh, yeah, that's awesome. No, I would be very bummed if if I wanted to name my thing The Dead Place and it was taken. So that's yeah, very cool that you got that title.
Especially since I named it back in 2008.
Wow.
So I'd hate to have it all this time and then lose it when I was about to make it.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that would really be a bummer. You wrote it and you directed it, but for people who haven't had a chance yet to check out the trailer, can you talk a little bit about what The Dead Place is all about?
The story centers around the main character, Isaac. He's a senior in high school, and it's kind of like the Sixth Sense, where he can see dead people walking around, and they're trying to communicate with him. Well, a sinister entity comes along, and he realizes that he has this power to draw these souls to him. So he latches itself to him, trying to recruit him so he could feed off those dead souls. And then he recruits a dark soul, dark human soul, which is the new kid played by David Howard Thornton, and he kind of helps him poke him and push him to give into his darker impulses.
Oh, nice, nice. All right. So we mentioned David Howard Thornton is in this film, and this is his first speaking role. Was there ever a point in time where you considered making him not speak?
No, the character was already written years before I met David, and he was always a very talkative. That's how he gets under the skin of the main character, the way he talks and the way he pokes at him constantly. So when he was on our podcast, uh, my production partner and I had a podcast for a while, and he came on, and he was nice enough to come on, even though we didn't have that many listeners. So he came on, and once I heard about his theatrical background, then I knew it's like this mute clown. You can see that he's got performance abilities. And then when I found out that he had a theater background, that's when I knew that this was the new kid.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that'll be really fun for audiences to get to hear him speak for the first time in a feature-length film. That'll be very cool.
Yeah, and then I found out after Bloody Disgusting had already reported that it was his first speaking role. There was another filmmaker chimed in and said, "Hey, what about me?" So I guess in 2020 he had a small speaking role
Hmm.
in a smaller indie film. So this is his first major speaking role in a feature film. So I
Oh,
have to
wow.
correct that.
All right, all right. Yeah, that's the article that I read too when I was looking at this up. All right, but that's still cool. That's awesome that people will get to see, kind of like a different side of him. What was the collaboration process like with David on this film?
uh, well, first of all, I had to get him interested in it. When we did the podcast, he seemed interested, but I still needed to follow up. So I kind of followed up on DMs, like telling him a little bit about the character, whetting his appetite for it, and it seemed like something he would like to embrace. So once I sent him the script, he really got into it. He really wanted that character, and we went back and forth quite a few times, and I told him stuff like, um, I picture him as a New Yorker and has all this attitude and bravado that's completely unearned. And the way he did it, he said that when he did Art the Clown, that he imagined Art the Clown as a vulture
Mm.
stalking his prey. Where he said he looked at the new kid as a like a hyena or
Oh.
a jackal, you know.
Uh,
So you can see it in his mannerisms, the way he changes his mannerisms from character to character.
mhm. Oh, cool. Yeah, the rest of the cast looks really exciting too. Behind you, you have the poster. You have Idris. You have Bill. Like, how did you get this cast together? How did you assemble this ensemble?
Well, that's where I started was cast. I did completely what you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to get the technical part down first and get the right camera equipment and locations and everything, and then you get the cast. But for me, the cast was most important. So I wanted to get, I didn't care where they were coming from. I had to fly people in. I did use, eat up part of the budget flying people in, but I just needed people that were perfect for the roles, not just whoever I could find in LA.
Right.
I mean, LA has a big acting pool, but not every actor is going to go out for every little independent movie. So we got about 200 and something submissions for the main character Isaac. That was the most important one. But once we got him, Idris Villieu as Isaac, that's when I knew everything else was going to come into place. We needed our Isaac and we needed our new kid, and then everything else kind of fell into place after that. And I got really lucky with getting like Lexi Graves as Catherine. She ended up being a perfect Catherine because uh, once I cast her, she completely embraced it and took it over, and she understood the character as much as I did, and I'd been living with it for years.
Hmm.
So she knew exactly what kind of wardrobe the character should have, exactly what her mannerisms would be like. And then now she's already working on what her character is going to be like in part two.
Oh, that is awesome. Very exciting. Yeah, what does it feel like you said you came up with this like in 2008. What does it feel like to finally have this finished product, this finished film that audiences are going to be able to experience for the first time?
It's the strangest feeling I've ever felt. It's simultaneously a feeling of intense excitement and intense anxiety,
Mm.
where I feel like I'm going to cry any minute right now.
Oh no.
Because tomorrow the review embargo was lifted.
Mm.
So tomorrow the reviews start pouring in. So I'm really nervous because I've lived with it for so many years, and then now it's going out into the public to be judged. So I'm really nervous, but I'm really excited for everybody to finally see it.
Oh man. Yeah, no, that'll be very exciting. I know you're a big horror fan like me. What are some of your favorite horror films?
Uh, well, usually when somebody asks me what the best era of horror films is, I said the one right now.
Mm.
I think the new horror films coming out are always the best, most exciting. But older horror films that I love is Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a big uh, influence on me,
Mm.
and The Exorcist. And I'd say those The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and The Evil Dead are kind of a mixture of what I'm all about. I like to put the more brutal, more in-your-face elements of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Evil Dead,
Mm.
but I also like to put the character development and the drama and the psychological horror of The Exorcist.
That's very awesome. Yeah, I agree. There's so many exciting horror films right now. We just had Obsession. This week, Backrooms opens, and Backrooms is so fun. I feel like Undertone was a really exciting film that came out this year with just the way that they played with the audio elements of it.
Yes, I
Yeah, it's
loved
just
Undertone.
such a great year for horror. And then we're just getting started because Evil Dead, there's going to be Evil Dead Burn
Yeah,
later this year. That one looks incredible. Just such a fun year for horror.
yeah, and I feel very lucky because especially since the big horror films of the moment are these little small
Yeah.
independent films like Obsession, and then like you said, Undertone. Did you watch Undertone in the theater?
Yeah, I watched it in Dolby, which was like the perfect way to experience it.
Yeah, the sound was amazing. By the end, I was completely in a panic by the end because it felt like the presence was there in the theater with us. Just the
Yeah.
way the voice would kind of travel around the room and it sounded like it was in your ear.
Hmm.
I love movies like that that play around and experiment with sound.
Yeah, no, I love it too. I uh there were a couple parts, I think there were two parts in Undertone where I thought it was a noise from the theater. Like I thought it was something behind me. I didn't think it was part of the film. And I got like even more scared. And
Yeah,
it, that's why everyone needs to try and support films in theaters because it's not the same. You wouldn't have that same feeling, the same sound system. You wouldn't be in that huge dark room where it's all over the place. So it's
yeah,
just very cool to get to experience it, especially in Dolby where they have the ultimate sound system.
yeah. And Obsession as well, that's a good theater experience.
I know I need to see it again. I saw it the first time, not really knowing what to expect. Like I knew like the basic premise, but I tried to avoid all the trailers and all the marketing and everything. And I walked out of there and I was like, man, that was a special film. That was just such a fun time at the theater. And I'm so happy to see, I think it jumped like 40% at the box office from weekend one to weekend two, which is like
Yeah.
unheard of, especially because I know it's being distributed by Blumhouse and Focus Features, I think was the other one. But it was an independent film that was, picked up and then distributed. So it's just awesome for an independent film.
Yeah, they produced it independently, not knowing that they would get that big studio backing like that.
Yeah, that is so crazy. But I agree with you. Right now is just very exciting for horror, and now we have the Dead Place to look forward to. You mentioned it's filmed in California, but where exactly did you guys film?
Oh, we filmed here in Whittier around my house, and then up in Burbank, we filmed at a middle school in Burbank. Because
Oh
I looked all over the area. I did not know this until I started looking for locations. There are almost no schools in the area with lockers in the hallway.
my gosh.
I didn't know that was a thing. Everybody's spread out now. Nobody has lockers anymore. I
Wow.
don't I don't know if it's because of the shootings and everything, but
Yeah.
there's none of that around here except for that middle school in Burbank. So we were lucky to find that traditional looking long hallway with the lockers that you see in the trailer.
Wow. Yeah, no, I didn't even think of that. That's crazy that it's like a thing of the past. But that's cool you got to film it locally and just, around the Burbank and Whittier area. That's really special. And I'm excited because when I see the film, I am around the area, so I'm hoping to get to like recognize some places that I've been before. So that'll be really fun.
Yeah, and I'm having a local thing here in Whittier on August 1st. I rented the local theater here, Whittier Village Cinemas, and we're going to show it there on August 1st, and then afterwards going to go across the street to the 6740 bar and restaurant and have an after party. So
Oh,
that
that's
should be
so
fun.
cool. Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that so much. I know you're also doing the red carpet premiere on June 10th, which feels like it's far away, but it's almost June, so it's just, a couple weeks away. If people want to go to that and get tickets, how can they attend it?
There's links all over my page, or you can just go to Eventbrite and search the Dead Place, and it'll come up.
And then for people who aren't able to attend it in person, when and where can they support the Dead Place?
On June 1st, it'll be available exclusively only on the Bloodstream TV app. So we're going on there, and they got a lot of good stuff going on over there. We're part of their big push. They just acquired all of Lionsgate's horror films and all of Full Moon Entertainment's horror films, all the Puppet Master films, and all that. So they got a really good selection. So we're going to be there on June 1st, and then the red carpet on June 10th, and then on August 5th, it's going to be available everywhere on demand.
Ooh, okay, all right. That's really good to know. Are there any plans for like a physical media release down the line?
Yeah, I do want to have a Blu-ray release. We have tons of behind the scenes footage, so I'm looking for a filmmaker or an editor or something who wants to put together their own documentary about
Ooh.
the movie because we have tons of behind the scenes footage. Uh, David Howard Thornton behind the scenes entertaining the cast between takes and him going from his evil self to his goofball self telling stories. So we're gonna put that on the Blu-ray special features, and we're gonna release it later on.
Oh, that is so cool. And I know you mentioned it's part of a bigger trilogy story. How far along are you in the process of working on the next one? I know this one's not out yet, but have you been, starting to do pre-production and stuff like that on the second one?
Well, I wrote the entire script. It was about a 150-page script back in 2008, and I refined it over the years and split it into a trilogy. So part two and three is already written. but I just have to go through and do one more rewrite. What I did uh, with this is when I split them into a trilogy, and then I rewrote them and explored the themes further in each installment, and then I took the first one to a script analyst, my fellow producer Steve Deering, and he did the John Wick films. He did Darkest Hour with Gary Oldman. He does script coverage on a lot of films. So once we collaborated on that, and he did script coverage on it, and then sparked a bunch of new ideas, I rewrote that. So we're just going to do the same thing with part two. But as soon as if we get a, I say when, if
Mm.
and when we get a good response from this, we're going to jump right into part two in pre-production.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. That's so cool that you have like a roadmap for everyone to look forward to because then, there's something down the line and people can experience the whole trilogy. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to start a new franchise. Everybody's resurrecting old franchises and doing reboots and stuff. I wanted to do a whole new horror franchise.
No, I think that's great. If people want to keep up with all the latest information on the Dead Place and also keep up with what you're doing and your next projects and everything, where's a good place for people to go and follow you?
You can follow my personal page on Instagram, Mike Pickle 33, and then you can search me up on Facebook, Michael Pickle, and then also the Dead Place is also at the Dead Place movie on Instagram, and we're also on Facebook. So I'll be posting updates and everything on all those pages.
Awesome. Well, Michael, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk all things The Dead Place with me. I'm very excited to check it out. And everyone, go support it. If you can't go and attend the red carpet premiere on June 10th, go support it when it's streaming. And fingers crossed for a really cool Blu-ray box set, with all the behind the scenes and everything. It's going to be very fun. So thank you so much, Michael, and congratulations on the upcoming release.
Thank you for having me on.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.